Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome to another edition of eHeroes. Today I have the amazing Ashley Armstrong, and we're going to talk about the power and how to leverage Amazon. So welcome, Ashley, and thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here. Really appreciate it.
Now, before we got started recording, we talked a little bit about the pros and cons of Amazon, and I think there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of misconceptions on how to leverage that power. And they see others doing it, and they think, wow, that's easy. And I see other people's doing it and thinking, oh my god, that's just too much. I sell books online, but that's to my extent.
Right, right. Well, I love that you actually sort of brought that up because it is one of those things where it's kind of like a rock and a hard place. It's the largest platform in the world. It's a $1 trillion platform. They have 2.5 million secondary sellers, which is mom and pop sellers, people like yourself and myself, and things of that nature, as well as the big companies on top of that. And the fact of the matter is that even though they might be a little fickle to some people, and yes, it is kind of like walking on eggshells in some cases because there's so many people that they have to monitor. There's so many things that they have to look out for, and people who possibly have IP or someone stealing something else to someone or selling something they're not supposed to sell. So there's all these things that are happening, and all these things need to get monitored. And a lot of the times it's monitored by a robot. So things happen that seems unfair and or vice versa. But at the end of the day, when you want to be seen and you want to be found, you have to be on Amazon, even if it is not your number one distribution channel, even if it's just for sheer fact of being there, being noticed, and being found. It really does help with that brand recognition.
I've heard other people they'll say that, well, I've had my success with eBay, and honestly, I haven't bought anything on eBay in probably 6 or 7 years. It's all been Amazon.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
each platform has something that's great for it. You know what I mean? So what you may not be able to find on Amazon, sometimes you can find on eBay, or you can find things less inexpensive because eBay is kind of like the more inexpensive platform, I think is fair to say, where Amazon has more of the higher quality products and things of that nature. And I found costumes for my kids on eBay that I couldn't find on Amazon. So you just never really know. It's nice to have the options at least at the end of the day.
for me, and I think for everybody watching this, COVID kind of sidetracked how they do their shopping. And
Definitely.
it was, you go into a grocery store, you got to mask up. You go into CVS, same thing. And people got frustrated. They said, well, I'm
Yeah.
not doing that anymore. I'm not fighting over all that crap. Let me just go to Amazon. And, Amazon sales have been so, uh, I would say, awesome over the last quarter. The
Oh my
problem,
gosh, yeah.
the problem is they can't keep up either. So,
No.
what happens then? What happens when everybody wants to buy something and Amazon doesn't even have it?
Yeah, at the end of the day, before what we're, the pandemic, what we're dealing with, Amazon was on average pushing out about 4,000 units a minute, which is amazing,
Yeah.
right? And now, like, we don't know what those numbers are at this very moment in time because obviously we're in the middle of the pandemic or whatnot. But just knowing that that's the number, and then now going into the fact that, okay, as you said, everyone's at home, everyone's going to be ordering, and it's a transition for every single person and business, no matter how you shake it. So we all have to be slightly patient with each other's businesses and distribution platforms and things of that nature. But the fact of the matter is that a lot more manufacturing is going to be and is already starting to happen within North America instead of things kind of coming from overseas in different capacities or different countries. And that's a really beautiful thing. So what was once not able to be manufactured here, now is starting to come down that pipeline. So that's the beautiful thing, that every time that there's a little bit of a hiccup or there's something that we need to transition or something that we need to, project and forward thinking, that there's all these new opportunities that are slowly starting to come about. And the ones who are like looking at the positive side, the silver lining to everything, the ones who are like getting ahead of the curve and taking advantage of that and just being creative and thinking outside the box and how they're able to continue, they're the ones who are going to be successful with this. And, a lot of people, of course, have their own websites as well. Some people are selling on Facebook and, of course, Instagram and Pinterest. And so there's all these different platforms that can be utilized and should be utilized. And you should never have all your eggs in one basket because, as you've said before, things can be a little fickle. The robots are monitoring things. People can get shut down for, silly reasons or no reasons at all. Everything's being tracked socially. So it's not just being on a platform and doing the right things, following the rules, the TOSs and everything, but what's happening outside of it can sometimes, help or hurt your business. Just as, if an employee happens to do something silly and post it publicly, and then their boss happens to see, and they may or may not lose their job. So everything's being interconnected, and we do have to be aware of that, but also knowing that, take advantage of everything that's available to us too.
And I didn't realize that there's a lot of mom and pop stores that list their products on
Mm,
Amazon. I used to always compare that to eBay. That's where everybody would go to list their
right.
products. eBay for me was America's kind of yard sale, internet yard sale.
Yeah.
But with Amazon, I think the most expensive purchase I bought on Amazon was an Italian oven, and
Okay.
it was through a third party,
Hmm.
and it was actually shipped from New Jersey to Pennsylvania, where I live. But everything was run through Amazon. Everything was seamless, and I had more confidence, I guess, ordering it through Amazon than I did through a third party seller who I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're not the only one. And that's the other power of Amazon. Amazon has just done such a great job over the years of just creating that brand loyalty and a place where people feel safe, where they are going to be protected, right? Especially because of course nowadays everyone now has to order online, so they, can protect themselves and their family and they're in the comfort of their own home. But really at the end of the day, it's a platform that, whether or not people understand about the third party sellers, which most people don't. And that was one of my biggest things that I was advocating. There's a lot of our local businesses who happen to be having to shut down or postpone, and they really don't know what's happening. But at the end of the day, we could actually still support our local mom and pop businesses by shopping on Amazon. And that was something that a lot of people were not aware of, because they always think that they're buying on Amazon, they're buying from Amazon or these really big companies, and they're not just, helping fuel that big machine. But really, at the end of the day, you're putting food on a family's table when you are shopping through Amazon. And because Amazon has set up this seamless transaction process where they, deal with the purchase, they deal with the credit card, they deal with any returns, they deal with any refunds, they do everything with inside that system. So it makes it easy for the seller themselves because it's hands off in a lot of cases. And it also makes it really seamless for the person who's buying, because they feel like, hey, if I don't want this, I know for a fact that I can get my money back. I can send it back in, and things of that nature. So it's a really beautiful opportunity to let everybody know that Amazon is a great place to continue to support your local businesses within, no matter what country you are, because Amazon's all over the world, but let's just say within North America. Get on there, and those third party sellers, you are putting food on the table for families.
So how do people that want to sell on Amazon get started?
That's a really great question. There's lots of different ways of, kind of getting online. There's tons of programs and courses, which of course I do highly recommend you go out and you look into a program or a course, and the person who's teaching it, that you connect with them, that you like their energy. Of course, they have some great reviews and things of that nature. Then of course there's, tons of free information when it comes to blogs and YouTube and everything of that nature. And at the end of the day, it's all about the rules of engagement. It's just like knowing the rules of baseball or, some other
Mhm.
thing. It's no different. So understanding the rules of the do's and don'ts is a really great thing to look into. And then the next step would be, what type of seller do you want to be? People can, go and they can buy something, like arbitrage. They can go, okay, well, I can get approved and get the paperwork to be approved. And, this company manufactures this cell phone case.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to get approval to sell that it's not my branded, it's someone else's brand. And then they can become one of the, 10 or 20 or other sellers that are on that list. And you're fighting for the buy box, but it kind of gets you in there to sort of see how it sort of works. And then the other, of course, business model is you create your own brand, you create your own product, and or you find a product that you know you can improve, and then you're going to be, pushing out that brand. But at the end of the day, Amazon is like any other platform. You sign up, you just follow their prompts, you give them all your legal entity information, your bank account information, your tax information, and you kind of get up and going. And then, if you do not end up taking a course, Amazon has tons of sort of like, it's like called Seller University. that you can go in there and you can learn the ABCs of, okay, this is where you put your business information and this is how you create a listing. And this is, A, B, C, and D. It's kind of like the fundamentals. But really, at the end of the day, what I have found, of course, because I am a course creator and I've worked with thousands and thousands of students and private businesses to the same extent, having someone to be your Sherpa, like someone who's been there, who's done that, who can just cut through all the crap and go straight to the meat potatoes and go, okay, do this, now do this, now do this, now do this. And it just, allows you to skip that big learning curve by taking that program. And those programs that are inexpensive to, like the $6,000 range. And depending on where you are at with your budget to help you start a business, obviously you can pick and choose. But at the end of the day, it's still a business. And, this is one topic that I speak to on various levels with lots of different people. If you are going to start going into a business, you need to be super due diligence on what you are expecting and what it actually takes. Because a lot of people love the idea of being a business owner, but they haven't actually done their research to understand what it really means. You have to be prepared to invest your time, your energy, and of course, capital investment. Right. And it's really interesting. I've had a chance of working with thousands of different people who are wanting to start a business over the last 6 months because of the pandemic. And so I was speaking with them and qualifying them and just kind of seeing where they're at. And most people are completely unaware of the amount of money you need in order to start a business. You need to spend money to make money, and you need to be okay with that. And, you're not taking food from your family's mouth when you are investing into a business. You're building yourself a foundation that can allow you to fulfill, everything that you want for your family, but you have to create that foundation. And just like if you wanted to have a hot dog cart, which is one business model, that's about a $10,000 investment. $6,000 for the cart, $4,000 for the permit, depending on what city you're in. Then you have to buy all the things in order to do it. And you have to stand outside in the freezing cold or the blistering heat and hand out these items. If that's a business model that works for you and you like what's behind the curtain and all the little things that needs to be taken into action to run that business, then great. But do your due diligence. Be prepared to invest money of your own money, get an investor, use your credit, whatever it needs to be to get you up and off the ground. But make sure you have a plan in place and that you are prepared to invest your time and your money, because you need about 10 to 20 hours a week to be able to dedicate to building out a side hustle, because you always want to make sure you're putting food on the table with your job. But to build that side hustle, you need at least 10 hours a week to dedicate to doing that. So if you take all of that into consideration, if you want to be a secondary seller or arbitrage, selling someone else's stuff, or create a brand, which I definitely recommend, that's all about you and it's a specific niche audience and you're solving a problem for those people, those are the things that you have to take into consideration.
And the saying, build it and they will come, really doesn't apply, because honestly, in any business, you got to do the marketing, you got to do the homework, you got to go out there and push your product. And, I tell everybody, I said, look, even if you are crappy at marketing, you can still make videos telling people about how you can help them, or a little bit about your brand, and get it out there and put links in those video descriptions and point back to your Amazon store, or your website, or wherever you want to. You got to put some work in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you brought that up, because that is just another aspect that I find so funny sometimes when I speak with people that, sure, when I started, a decade ago on Amazon, I'd launch a product 30 days, it'd be up to 30 grand. Like, Bob's your uncle is amazing. But that doesn't happen anymore. Like, there's way more people, way more savvy people, and people kind of on that gravy train, and way more competition, of course, as well. But yeah, when it comes to getting yourself out there, you're working for a company right now, doing your 9 to 5, trading your hours for dollars. Look at what your company is doing. How many people do they have working for them that are responsible for certain aspects of that business? We need to have all these moving parts in order to make the machine moving forward. Just like, your car, you need to have all those functioning parts to move forward. And if people do not know that you exist or that your product does not exist, how the hell are they supposed to buy from you? It just doesn't make sense. And again, people thinking that when they're putting money into marketing and advertising, that it's an expense. It's almost like a waste. And it's just like, no. We need to completely wash that mindset out. This is an investment, because people are going to know who you are. You're creating a solid foundation. You're getting your message out there, and you're letting people know that you can solve their problem, whatever it might be. And with the amount of all the platforms that are free, with the fact that we have amazing cell phones with amazing capabilities of, taking pictures and taking videos, good quality videos, there is zero reason for you not to be putting yourself out there, except for the fact that you might be afraid to go online. You might be afraid to do the lives. You might be afraid to put yourself out there, or you have judgment on what your product might be or might not be, and things of that nature. And, like that whole FOMO, fear of missing out, and all these things that we're all struggling with. And I'm a human as well, and I struggle with the exact same things that everyone else does. But at the end of the day, if you can put yourself into a mastermind group or get some entrepreneurs around you that are, kind of in your corner as your cheerleaders to help you push past those mental blocks to put yourself out there, oh my gosh, you're going to grow leaps and bounds, and you're going to feel so fulfilled because you just kind of keep stretching yourself. You kind of keep growing. And then therefore your brand keeps growing or your business keeps growing. And it's just that flywheel effect that it's amazing when you really push yourself past that limit.
And I also think that the mindset that they have, they look around and they see all the businesses that are failing, and they think, well, how am I supposed to be successful when there's all these thousands or even millions of other people selling on Amazon? I'm just one person.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, stay in your own lane, pay attention to what you're doing and only what you're doing. Seeing what someone else is doing, the pros and the cons, and doing that comparing thing is just, we knew about it in high school, not to compare. We knew about it when we became professionals and whatever career or job we decided to do. There's nothing different when it comes to being your own business. And it's hard to not have FOMO. And it's hard to not look what other people are doing going, oh my God, they're in media and they're in publications and here and they got this like blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is they're at a different place in their business than you are. And you can't compare because we're all at different levels. The only thing that you can do is just making sure that you're constantly taking action, that you have a game plan, because if you don't have a roadmap on where you're trying to go, you're never going to get there. You're just going to keep going around in circles. And that's where I think a lot of people end up having sort of like that failure effect, where one, they didn't go into it with a solid plan. They didn't find and provide the support that they need in order for them to continue to grow and take action. Again, mastermind group, or just getting those cheerleaders in your corner, and things of that nature. You know what I mean? So yes, there's lots of relationships that start off good and don't work out so great. There's lots of businesses that start off good and don't work out so great. But at the end of the day, unless you actually try, you're never going to know. Like, this life isn't a trial run. You only have one life. So just give it all you got so you don't get to the end of it and go, I should have, could have, would have, wished kind of thing.
So are there things that Amazon has changed over the years that you're unhappy about?
That's a really great question. And absolutely, I think any and every platform and any business model has, of course, changed leaps and bounds over the years. No matter what industry we're talking about, there's always going to be changes because we're trying to deal with what's happening in the current day that we're at right now. Amazon has tried to, make it harder for people to have, fake reviews. Amazon has restricted people in protecting brands so other people can't try to steal from them and sell their products. So they've done a lot of really great things. But, a lot of the times things are also run by robots and not necessarily humans. And so, you can get shut down, you can get suspended, you can be completely kicked off the platform, even if you're doing $1 million a month. I've had a client doing $1 million a month, and it's like one day you wake up, boom, your account is done and it's off. And it's like, what the hell? Like, we didn't do it. We're following the TOS. We're doing this. We did this. We did it. Like, trying to dissect what it is that you did wrong. And they've not given you enough information and answers to help you figure out what you did wrong so you can rectify the situation. So Amazon has definitely, made it difficult in some aspects where you do have to walk on eggshells. But just recently, literally only a couple of days ago, because of the nature of what's happening right now and everything that's in the news with, with Amazon and Bezos and everything along those lines, they're trying to make it better for the sellers, and understanding that, hey, just because your robot noticed something and a human didn't look at my response and giving you all the details and the proof and the legal documents and the trademarks and the approval and all these things, no one is looking at it, and you're still going to ban me when I've done everything that you've asked me to do. Well, now they're starting to implement a little bit more human touch, making sure people have the opportunity to say, hey, this was done in error. Like, this is not fair. And they're trying to change that nature as we speak, literally this week. So, there was lots of things that were very frustrating, and any seller that you talk to will say, yep, it's like eggshells, but you have to be there whether you like it or not. And because there's enough people who are sort of saying, hey, this is not fair, that Amazon is starting to, make those changes. Like most businesses, you listen to what your audience is saying and you do your best to try to serve them. And they're working on that right now.
Oh yeah, I bought a product last week, and it came and it was damaged, and I sent it back, and I didn't realize it was from a third party. And they called me, and I don't really answer my phone a lot because I'm just busy. And they left a message asking me if I wanted a refund or a replacement. So I emailed them back and said I want a replacement. I guess they didn't get my email, so they credited my account for a refund.
Right.
Whatever. But
Yeah.
it used to be that Amazon showed you where the product was being shipped from. Whether
Hmm.
it be China or Poland or Russia or America. Now they don't do that anymore. And there's a lot of people that are very patriotic. They only want to buy American. They can't because there's no way to find out.
Yeah. That's where the due diligence comes in. If that's something that's really important to you, a lot of people who are USA manufacturers, as an example, I'm Canadian manufacturers, a lot of times their listings will actually state that, or the images
Hmm.
will state that. So that's one thing that you can do. The other thing as well is look at the shipping time. If the shipping time is very long, then we definitely know that it's overseas and it's being done by obviously a secondary seller, but it's usually coming from a farther away, let's just say. And even if you are a seller in the US and you are shipping from your own home or your own warehouse, you do still have that lead time. But at the end of the day, the best way to make sure that you are, getting what you want and you're getting it in the time frame that you want is, to buy Prime, which means the products are actually in the Amazon warehouse. Now, we don't necessarily know if it's an American company or if it's an overseas company, but at least anything that you're buying, you can return without hassle or issue. You're going to get it really, really fast, and you don't have to worry about that nature. But back to what you said about you got a used product, and that is one thing that is very, very frustrating because that's actually a seller's setting. So again, it's one of those like little tips and tricks where anytime someone returns an item, a seller needs to go into their settings and say, hey, send that return back to me, the owner, because you do not know if the person who got it opened up, tested it out or not. And if the seller does not set that up in their settings, that return goes right back into inventory. And Amazon doesn't know. They have millions of products. So then, unfortunately, in your case, from the sounds of it, that seller who was selling that product didn't have that every 30-day removal program set up, so all those returns get sent back to them. So only the top quality, never been touched, never been opened inventory is still sitting at the warehouse, so they don't get bad experiences like you've had there. So again, that's a little part of the tips and tricks that one needs to be aware of
You
when
know,
they're
and,
using that platform.
and I see that there's actually a secondary market for Amazon products like returns, and people are
Yes.
buying them up in bundles and then reselling them on, whether they're reselling them back on Amazon or they're selling them in their own private stores. But some of these guys are making killings.
Yeah, there's lots of different business models and there's lots of different ways of skinning the cat, as one might say. You know what I mean? Back in the old days or whatever, and things work. Of course, depending on what business model you want to go with, and at the same time, you also want to protect yourself as a brand if you don't want anyone else having your product selling it anywhere else because you cannot control what the customer is going to be getting. They can't control the branding, they can't control the messaging, they can't control the customer response and experience that they're having with the company. You have to do your due diligence and make sure you are brand registered and make sure that you put in cease and desist letters if someone else is selling your stuff and things of that nature. But there's a pros and cons. Like, ooh, more people selling my things, which means more people are going to know about my company, which means the branding is going to get wider. So you have to sort of weigh what works best for your business model and what it is that you're trying to accomplish in the end. But yeah, there's lots of different ways of getting the job done and making money online. That's for sure.
So, how do the listeners get a hold of you? Where do they go?
Yeah, that's a really great question. They can go to my website, which is Amaze Authority, AMAZ Authority.com. And really, that's same thing for YouTube, Amazon with Ashley, Facebook, Amaze Authority, and Instagram, and things of that nature.
So, where do you find most of your clients coming from? Facebook, YouTube?
To be quite honest with you, almost all my clients are referrals. I work with 6 to 8 million and up clients, established product companies who have a really solid foundation with their website and their social media, and they're selling obviously quite well. And they are on the Amazon platform, but they don't have a dedicated person to understand the rules of the game. And so I'm known as a hidden rules expert. So I come in and I train their entire team and their one point person who's going to be their Amazon account manager on like what to do and how to do it, and the SEOs and things of that nature, and how to properly position their product lines and how to find the money that they're literally leaving on the table. And then when I'm done with them, I walk away and their entire team and their company has kept that investment in house, and they can continue growing without having a consultant in their corner. So they can continue like launch new product lines and things of that nature without having someone around. So it's a lot of fun actually, because I get to work with big teams of like 10 people, 15 people, and we're all like just going, what are you doing over here? What are you doing on Facebook? What are you doing on Amazon? Okay, now this is how Amazon works. You got to do this, and you got to do this, and this is how we got to do it. And it's a lot of fun. But that's what I truly enjoy at the end of the day, is giving people the opportunities. Like, I don't fish for them. I teach them how to fish.
Yeah, and I mean, and are the rules a little different? I mean, you're in Canada, I'm in US, but when you help US companies, do you have to kind of, are there things that the US people have to understand that's different than in Canada?
I actually I prefer to only work with American companies, to be quite honest with you. Just because, number one, there's more people in the state of California than all of Canada. We have tons of land and animals, but not so many people. So I do work, of course, with Canadian companies. I definitely do want to support, those in my backyard, and people who, of course, are manufacturing within Canada. We all want to, of course, support our country and our fellow people. But really, at the end of the day, the platforms are pretty similar. The only thing that's different is really the taxes. And I'm
Yeah.
not a tax person. I have nothing to do with that. So there really isn't too much when it comes to the difference of it. Because at the end of the day, it's really just about, you have a product and it's servicing this group of people and it's solving this problem. And let's make sure they know about it. They know you're there and they can find you and they can buy it from you. And they're having a really great experience where they want to order again and or talk about it and tell other people. So you get that word of mouth advertising. Because one negative comment can reach, if I remember correctly, is about 450 people in a matter of a 3-day period. And of course, with social media, that is like, exponentially on top of that now. So you really want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to have that really solid communication and that branding and messaging that is, making sure that the customer is being tracked throughout their entire process of being interacting with you.
And I will say to all my audience, my listeners, that if you do have a website and you do have e-commerce, make sure you have some type of privacy page that tells them what you're doing with the data that you collect. Because I know even with running YouTube ads or Facebook ads, and probably I'm sure Amazon is very similar, they need to know that you have some type of policy. Otherwise,
Yeah.
they won't help you.
Yeah. And well, really with Amazon, like you've mentioned before, Amazon owns the customer. You are allowed to play on their field, but it's their field and it's their customer. You don't own the customer. You can't talk to that customer about any other product that you're selling, only the product that they purchased. You can't show them your website. You can't drive them off of Amazon into your own e-commerce space. And those are the Amazon's rules. Of course, there's lots of ways that we've been able to create customer retention strategies where we use Amazon to go fishing
Yeah.
for customers in the Amazon pool and then pulling them over into your social profiles and into your website so you can capture them and you can continue to market them later about other things that you're doing down the line. But really, at the end of the day, Amazon owns all of that. So if they're buying on it's Amazon's policies, it's Amazon's features. But if you do have a customer retention strategy, you absolutely want to make sure you are covering all your bases
Yeah,
when it comes to
I
driving them
think
over.
and like you said, I think it's very important that you have some type of customer retention policy because, like you said, Amazon owns your customer. So
Yep.
you've gone through all this, you know, uh, expense to create your business, to do all this stuff, but you don't own the customer. So you have to
Yep.
do whatever you have to do to collect that name, that email, that phone number, and because really a business without customers that you can't remarket to is awful. in
Yeah,
my
it
book.
is. It is, which is why strategy comes into place, especially when you were talking about Amazon. Strategy is ridiculously important before you even get off the ground, really. Or if you're off the ground, but now you're like ready to fine tune it, that's when strategy comes in for sure.
Yeah, I know. I notice a lot of retro old items from like the 80s and 90s are really making a
They're a
killing
huge
on.
comeback right now.
Yeah,
It's awesome. Even my husband's going like, "Oh my god, my father had this, record player in my house. And he had these big speakers, and I can find them. They're for sale, but they're 3 times more expensive now. But I still want them."
yeah, it's crazy. And now the big headphones are coming back, and I'm like, really? These are
Yeah,
like
I know.
$20. Not spending $300 on this, but people do it. And I- and
Yeah,
and and I think with everybody, you have to look at what you are doing right now. If you're creating comic books, if you're creating coloring books, if you're creating T-shirts, that's what's unique to you.
yeah.
That's what's going to help you sell and be more authentic on Amazon. Don't try to sell what everybody else is selling, because now
Oh
you're in a
gosh,
you're
a
in
me
a
too.
giant
You don't want to
pool
be
of.
a me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No Me Too products if you can definitely avoid it. That's for sure. Try to be innovative, and change things that are really fixing the problem at hand. And if you are one of those genius people who happens to come up with ideas, you definitely want to make sure that you're getting your trademarks and that you're going through all the legal parts that you can protect, what it is that your creation is, that you've created, things of that nature.
So everybody go over to amazeauthority.com, visit Ashley, hire her if you want to leverage the power of Amazon, and we'll catch you guys on the next video or audio wherever you're listening. See ya.